Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the latest chapter review, chapter 217 of Akatsuki no Yona, also known as Yona of the Dawn. Yona of the Dawn, chapter 217 review. Now, I really like this chapter. There's a few things that I thought might go a little differently. I'm curious about a couple of things, but what did you guys think? Overall, I think the chapter is pretty good, pretty solid, and follows the correct direction that I believe the characters were inevitably going to take. The chapter does start us off with the end of the last chapter, of course, with Yona crying to soo-won, like, where is Hawk? Damn it, tell me. That kind of idea. Soo-won, of course, is also seemingly looking for Hawk with trying to ignore the fact that he is doing that. You know, he's lying even to himself. The dragons show up before anything else can go down between Soo-won and Yona in this regard. But jae-ha notices that, of course, because jae-ha, and I believe that jae-ha and Zeno, being the most, perceptive of the dragons, they have both recognized that Yona, of course, was crying and stuff like that, and is forcing a smile for their sake. Kija and Shina might be a little more naive or a little more tricked by Yona's outward guise in this regard, but jae-ha is not fooled even for a second and says, she cries in front of you and forces a smile for us. I envy you. And it's sort of like, yeah, this has got a point of truth, because for jae-ha, he's thinking about the situation between Hawk, Soo-won, and the dragons and all of their relationship with the princess, with Yona. And he recognizes that the fact that she has to put on in front of them, even at this junction, means that like, it's still not good enough, almost. Like, there's still this layer, this barrier that is still there, as thin as that might be, it might be as thin as ice that you would never skate on or you're going to fall through the lake. There's still this one last step that's different between the dragons and Hawk, or the dragons and Hawk and Soo-won. And this is what jae-ha recognizes in a way. It's not, as he said, he puts it blatantly, saying, I envy you, right? Because they're supposed to protect her, not necessarily the other way around. You know, even though it is a relationship, it's built on the idea that the dragons are there for her, right? So, and they've recognized and chosen to do just that. And the fact that she still tries to protect them is almost, it almost hurts their pride as protectors, as bodyguards in a sense. So I definitely really like that scene. Very, very simple, but you can read a lot into it, as I have just done. Now, Soo-won is actually surprised by this and thinks about what Yona's tears meant and how he has forced her into that type of situation, and how his actions have led to Yona once again crying and breaking down. But this is where Soo-won tries to cut it off. Tries to cut it off at the knees and go, no, stop thinking. Throw away all the unneeded stuff. Throw away everything. I have chosen to do what my father did with... This is not exactly what his father I believe, would have wanted. We still don't have that confirmation. I think the flashback was done very poorly, in the sense that we don't see this malicious man killing everybody. You know what I mean? It's very, very strange. But the idea here is that Soo-won is tunnel visioning himself. He's trying to go, no, I threw away my emotions, I threw away everything, sort of idea, right? For the completion of my goal, I am going this direction and no other, and no distractions. I got blinders on both sides, top down, left, right, everything. And I'm going this way. My compass is true north, and that's it. But this act of actually losing Hawk, his best friend, losing Hawk, and Yona, someone that you could argue that I believe, like, you could argue that Soo-won was potentially in love with Yona. I don't really think he ever was, but I think he views her as definitely one of the closest people to him. I don't think he ever truly fell in love with her. I think he potentially might have loved the idea, what Hawk painted years ago, which was the idea, you marry Yona, and I'll be your general, and we'll all be together forever, sort of idea. That pipe dream, that fantasy felt very comforting to soo-won, I believe. The not so much the logistics of it, but just the idea of it in general just sounded very happy to him. But I don't think he's ever truly been in love with Yona necessarily. More so, it's the thing about Hawk. But now, definitely the two closest people to soo-won have now been taken from him in a way. One is grieving, and one is grieving because they lost another. And soo-won never had to deal with that before, so he's trying his best. He's like, there's no way for me to know where Hawk is. I don't even have time to spare to even think about that. There's a million possibilities, even if he is alive, blah, blah, blah. And then he recognizes that he's fooling himself because why have I been looking at the map of the Kin province? And the lid on a closed box. I love that they just, they don't actually state it. They just, and he's getting, like, the headaches are getting worse. It's throbbing this whole chapter. It's just been throbbing. And I love the symbolism of the fact that they show, like, all the boxes. Like, these are compartments of soo-won that he's tucked everything away. His one box contains his emotions. One box contains his love for Yona. One box contains his love for Hawk. One box contains his doubts. One box contains, that kind of stuff, right? And now they don't even state it. They just say the lid of a closed or once discarded box has ... and then they show it opening and the effects pouring out. Now, there are two ways to look at this, because it almost looks like it could be almost like a liquid, or it could be like sand. At first it sort of looked like sand to me, but then it looks more like it's something pouring out of the box. In all honesty, I could see this two ways. Number one, this is the beginning of soo-won actually, ever since he murdered King Il, he has had all these boxes under key, and finally one has opened, and that's going to be the change. That's going to be the dramatic change with his position towards Yona, and his position towards the dragons, and the country, the kingdom, and Hawk. Hawk is going to be the big factor here, because of course he is. He's literally the moving part of almost this entire story. The characters almost focus around him, sometimes even more so than Yona. There's that way to look at it, which could still be true, but also, I didn't think about this before, but the symbolism that could be tears. I didn't think of it before because at first with the special effects on the side, the artistic choice, it looks more like sand pouring out of a box at first, but really, that's just the effect. It looks more like someone crying. And I'm thinking that maybe this is supposed to indicate to us that soo-won, alone in the library, is crying that he thinks his feelings have finally come to the surface and been opened, and he thinks Hawk might be dead, he'll never see him again. He breaks down that we don't get to really see, but we can potentially infer from this one little scene. Maybe that's me stretching a little bit, maybe that's me overreaching a little bit, but I'm just saying, it definitely means the first thing. It definitely means that we have potential for now. The boxes are finally starting to open for soo-won, so there's a lot of potential with this. But I'm just thinking that as a second part, which, as I said, is a bit of a reach. I think this is indicating tears, and I think this is for us to say that soo-won, by letting his emotion, by the box finally opening, now he's crying for the loss of his best and only friend, as far as he's concerned. Right, so. But yeah, and then of course we get the shot of Gulfin. Right there at the next shot. So it's like, the symbolism just can't be denied, right? After this, we get everyone showcasing all the armies showing up, except for the Earth tribe, of course. We see the Fire tribe, we see the Water tribe, we see the Royal tribe, we see the Wind tribe, we see everybody. Now, this is where Yona and the dragons show up as they're all getting prepared for war. The bridge to the Kim province is going to be repaired soon. They're gathering everybody together, and it's going to be boom, 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 let's go. This is where Yona states that I am going to go to the battlefield with you, and says, like, are you certain? And it's inferred that you won't fall ill. I don't think she actually stated this. She just said, are you certain? And he was able to infer the real question, like, are you certain you won't fall ill randomly on the battlefield? And this is where she says, it could have been actually stated, says, if something happens to you, I will support you, and let's end this war quickly. Soo-won is a little shocked by this, but also says, and when the war is over, so is our alliance, because I'm going to go look for Hawk. And the dragons are going to go with me. And Soo-won doesn't really say anything about this, and it's seemingly accepted, it seems. Where Soo-won is a little, seems taken aback a bit, and Ki-sok doesn't say anything, Soo-won doesn't say anything, turns away. Yona notices Gulfin, and then that's when everyone notices the dragons and Yona, and everyone starts cheering. We have the dragons, we have Yona, Princess Yona, 4 dragons, Princess Yona, 4 dragons. They're so popular. And Ki-sok is looking on, the Wind Tribe, Zeno is looking on and thinking that Princess Yona and the 4 dragons now symbolize the kingdom. Should the alliance truly be dissolved? I'm thinking that this is supposed to be Ki-sok, but I'm not sure. It might be Zeno. I think it might be Zeno believing this, because we don't see Zeno in that last shot. We see him before that, and that's when we get the little monologue. So either way, I think that things are going to come to a head. I don't think the alliance will actually be dissolved, because I think with the opening of the box, Hawk missing, the war going on, I think things are going to change. This is the intention, but I think things might change by the end of the war, by the end of the arc. So, or you could argue this is the start of a new arc, but I think it's just sort of all been one weirdly structured arc. But yeah, so after this, we actually do get Hawk. Hawk is alive. We all knew he was alive, but still, very, very good to see our main man again. He was being buried with the rest of the corpses, and he does manage to get up, but of course he's in enemy territory, so he tries to run away, but of course he's severely injured. He's Hawk, but not only was he injured as hell beforehand, he just survived a goddamn flood. He doesn't know how many days it's been. He doesn't know where he is, and he's trying to run. Now, a woman and a little boy come up and said, the man is my husband. He got washed away in the flood, blah, blah, blah. And they seemingly buy this. And so they take Hawk in. The reasons, I don't know. I'm very curious to find out this woman's motivations. I'm very curious to find out why would she save someone. I mean, it could be as simple. It could be very simple, like a Minso or a Yon. It could be a very simple idea of, I don't like to see people getting hurt needlessly. I hate war. I hate this. It could be a generalization reason, and not specifically anything about Hawk. But I am curious to see the woman's motivations behind saving it clearly, and lying to soldiers even to save Hawk. It seems random. So, and I don't mean that as a bad thing. I believe we're going to find out why she did this. Hawk will probably ask her whether she tells the truth or not, where it really leads me, is yet to be seen. But it's going to be very interesting in the next chapter. I assume we're going to see more of Hawk next chapter, and we'll get that discussion then. Now, this is where he did try to find that he's trying to figure out what time, how long has it been, blah, blah, blah. Like what's going on right now, like what's the situation, and he's looking for the white pouch, of course the Senjuzo, and he's digging for it and he can't find it, and she says she can't find any, that there was no white pouch or whatever, and so Hawk is like really miserable at this news, saying the Senjuzo, and they ask, was it something important, and he says like, I can't return without it. Now, basically, she says, well, return to Koka. All the Koka people on this side of the border have all been executed. So you getting to return? Are you crazy? Sort of idea. Now, this is where we get one last shot that the great generals of South Kai have come. Now, once again, the great generals of South Kai, are these the generals we have met before, or are these different generals? Because they're shrouded in shadow. So I'm curious to know if these are new generals that we haven't been introduced to yet, or they're generals and they're just trying to give this ominous presence, like it's Val and the one with the eye patch or something like that. Doesn't seem to be, by looking at the silhouette, seems to be new characters, and we don't know how deep into enemy territory Hawk is. I don't think he's like a province and a half away, but he could be miles from the border, for all we know. He could be miles into South Kai territory, and he's deep inside enemy territory. So, and he's injured to boot. He's very injured, even though he's been treated and stuff like that. He's still very, very, of course, injured. So, yeah. What else about the chapter? that was basically my little synopsis. I was checking off all the boxes as I usually do. For monthly chapters, you almost have to do that. Unless it's a they fight chapter. Even for like weekly series that are like 18, 20 pages, I find sometimes you really need to collect your thoughts, and so I always make bullet points while I'm recording the video so I don't forget to talk about anything. But I don't feel like I'm missing anything this time. No, I think I covered all the bases. As I already said at the beginning of the video, very good chapter. Like, let's be realistic. It was a good chapter, right? It's interesting that we're getting Hawk so early, but I'm sort of glad we are. I'm glad things are moving at a quicker pace. We're already starting the war. The armies are gathered. Yona has made her intentions to go find Hawk very clear to soo-won. Soo-won is clearly going to develop, and that's one of the biggest things right now. One of the biggest driving forces to keep Yona fans interested is when will Soo-won and Hawk, when will they finally get together, have a conversation, right? When will we get to see them interact once again? And with all this shit going down with Hawk, it's even going to be even better because now Soo-won is letting his emotions finally come to the surface once again, which he has pushed them down for so long. So we might get a waterworks from Soo-won when Hawk is finally found again. We have no idea. But anyways, that's the end of the chapter. That's the end of the review, the end of the video. What did you guys think of it? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Fourth, and most importantly, drink responsibly, as always, as I always do. And we will see you guys back here next time for Yona the Dawn. There is apparently one more chapter coming out before the end of the year, right around Christmas time. That's going to be absolutely a banger. It's going to be great because I think they're going to end it off with a bit of a bang for chapter 218. That's going to be pretty cool. So let me know what you guys think about the predictions for that as well down in the comment section down below. Drink responsibly as always, and Merry Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate for this month, and we'll see you back here next time, everyone. Peace out.